أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Our beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise be unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, the most kind. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. And we submit to Him, we turn to Him in devotion, in prayer and in hope. La ilaha illallah. And we ask Allah to bless us in this waqt of Jumu'ah. Ya Allah, forgive us for the sins of last week and guide us in the week to come. We send our greetings, our salutations to our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to his pious and pure family, to his companions and all those of this ummah who follow his sunnah until the end of time. Ya Allah, let us be from amongst them. Ameen. Walhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. We insha'Allah, the date is not important, but it's relevant to the topic. Today is the Friday, the 13th. Alhamdulillah. Every Friday is a blessed day, is a holy day. And it is the greatest of days of the week. For it is the day on which Qiyamah will be. It is the day in which Allah created Nabi Adam. It is the day in which there is an hour. Allah says, the Prophet tells us, in this day of Jumu'ah, the 24 hours of Jumu'ah, there is 1 hour in it where du'as are not rejected at all. Whatever dua you make, it will be accepted, inshallah. Different opinion as to which that hour is. Is it the waqt of Jumu'ah? And if it's so, may Allah accept our du'as. Some say it's the hour before Maghrib. Others say it shifts to the last third of Thursday night. Whatever it might be, the holiest day of the week is Friday. And therefore we are ummah that do not believe in superstition. And our deen is light. And it is knowledge. And it began with Iqra. And it came to a people who were deeply entrenched in superstition. Of shaitan's tricks and of shaitan's methods of leading man astray, he pushes him further and further into paganism, further and further into superstition. And you'll find the link between superstition and shirk versus knowledge and tawheed, the opposite completely. Whereas the one, shirk, puts power in objects and things other than Allah, idols and stones and graves and stars and statues. Whereas the believer puts all power and might to Allah. And all his fear is with Allah. And all his hope is with Allah. And his protection is with Allah. Whereas the pagan, everything around him, he's terrified of everything. He is superstitious about everything. And therefore, superstition is not part of our creed. It is something that as Muslims, we are far removed from it. And we said it's not just a sin like other sins. Rather, superstition and doubts affect the very core essence of our iman. It attacks our iman. And therefore we need to talk about this to refute it. We said that this deen, the reason why we were created, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the reason and the purpose of your creation, my creation, the jinn's creation, everything that is created, ultimately has one goal: to worship Allah alone. And fear and looking for protection is part of that worship, which should be for Allah alone. And shirk nullifies this completely. That's why this topic is very important. Some topics, alhamdulillah, you might feel when you hear the topic on marriage, you think, alhamdulillah, been there, done that, I'm 50 years married. If only I heard this lecture 50 years ago, now it's too late for me. La. This topic is relevant because, as I said, superstition is a portion of shirk. It's a branch of the evil tree of shirk. And one bit of shirk, we said, nullifies, contaminates tawheed completely. And we said on the day of Qiyamah, there are only two queues ultimately. There's the queue of the people of tawheed, and there's the queue of those who don't have tawheed. And if waliyadu billah, you are in the queue that have committed shirk, khalas, it's Jahannam eternally. Every other sin, whether it be zina or murder or lie, whatever it might be, you still have the hope of Jannah. But if you have an ounce, a drop of shirk with you on the day of Qiyamah, then eternal damnation in Jahannam. And therefore this is the most dangerous of all sins. And I said superstition is one of the roots of shirk. And therefore we need to be very, very careful how we navigate against this. May Allah protect us. Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ. Allah says, I don't forgive at all, ever, anyone who has shirk, but I will forgive anything less than that. Anything less than that, I will forgive it. Except for shirk. We said before that, and this is just a recapping of many things that we've spoken many weeks ago, and in fact we did this lecture if you remember, January also had the Friday the 13th. And just for interest sake, if ever the month begins on a Sunday, there will be a Friday the 13th. It's just mathematically going to be like that. So the month ends, the first of the month is Sunday, there will be Friday the 13th. That's just the normal how the weeks work. There's the timing of the week. And we said that people who commit shirk, remember, shirk is not denying Allah altogether. Rather, the mushrik, the person who has shirk, he associates something with Allah. Meaning, he affirms Allah, but he also gives something which belongs to Allah alone. So what did we say our definition of shirk was? Shirk is to give that which is exclusively Allah, belongs to Allah alone. Some things you can share with others, the creation, but some things belong to Allah alone. When you give anything of that to anyone besides Allah, you're fallen into shirk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, in Surah Zumar, and if you ask them, who created the heavens and the earth? You mean you ask the pagans, anyone who commits shirk, who created the heavens and the earth? They will never say the idols. They will never say Jesus Christ. They will never say the graves and the awliya. No one ever says the creation of the universe was by the deities. Rather, they will say Allah. Abu Jahl, when you ask Abu Jahl, who created the heavens and the earth? He will say Allah, the creator, He created it. Then Allah asks them, then have you considered what you invoke? You are making dua, you are looking for protection besides Allah. If Allah is the creator and He's the ruler and the supreme of everything, then why are you turning to others besides Allah for barakah and for forgiveness and for protection and for a route to Jannah? Why are you turning to anyone besides Him? And Allah says, and this is important to our topic today, if Allah intended me harm, if Allah wanted to harm you, then are there removers, Allah asks you, of His harm? Can anyone prevent and block you from the harm of Allah? Can anyone defend you against Allah? And if Allah intended me mercy, are there any that can withhold the mercy of Allah? So how can you then fear anything besides Allah? And how can you hope in anything besides Allah? How can you turn to in worship in anything besides Allah, when all the power and the might and the izzah belongs to Him exclusively? And therefore, so the Muslim says, Kul hasbi Allah. The believer says, sufficient for me. Allah is enough. I don't need anything besides Allah. I don't need to go to anyone, any spiritual healer, any spiritual remedy, any amulet, or anything like that, because hasbi Allah. Allah is sufficient for me. And upon Him, alayhi yatawakkal mutawakkilun. And upon Him, the true people of reliance, they put their faith on it. So we said superstition is a portion of shirk, and we see it still in our very developed, scientific-based society. People still have in them aspects of superstition. And certain communities, wa'iyadu billah, they are deeply entrenched in superstition. And we find, subhanAllah, stories recently in the news, people committing acts of cannibalism, people slaughtering and, taking pieces for muti and magic and all these things. It is based on superstition and based on belief in powers other than Allah. The Prophet ﷺ says, Tayyarah is shirk. That to believe in omens and superstitious means is a portion of shirk. And we said the examples, let's talk at some of the examples that we find in our community. And in fact, sadly, even in our Muslim community in Cape Town, there are still aspects of superstitious belief. Unconfirmed or unreasonable fears. For example, we said Friday the 13th, people have taken certain dates and time of the year as being bad luck. The number 13 and the day Friday is taken when it's together, it's superstition. This is a Western concept. Of course, the Muslim, he never fears Friday. We love Friday, alhamdulillah. 13, why is 13 a superstitious day? But let me ask you, if we look at the origin of these things, it's very interesting to think about it. How do you think Friday the 13th became superstitious? Well, in the Christian concept, the 13th disciple was Judas. The disciple that betrayed Nabi Isa, according to Christianity, Allah Alam, he was disciple number 13. So this number 13 was taken as bad luck. And you find it in some buildings, for example, in the Western world, you'd find floor number 13 isn't there. It goes, 11, 12, 14. The lift jumps because they believe the number 13 is bad luck. So they don't have number 13. Also, Friday was the day of the Muslims. And therefore, in the Western world, it was believed it was a day when witches got together. In fact, my sister-in-law, she worked in KZN, and she's a revert, and one of the native people from the Zulu people of KZN asked her, so when you people go to mosque on Friday, what kind of magic do you people practice? So there's still the belief that and subhanAllah, this is our fault. We laugh, but it's actually our fault. We should educate them that they should know our basics of our deen, what do we do, what happens at the mosque. And subhanAllah, we will work with colleagues 10, 20 years, and they'll have no clue what happens in a masjid. If they knew, alhamdulillah, could have opened their heart to Islam. Of course, so it was believed that Muslims do some strange, magical things on Friday, and therefore the combination of the two is extremely evil. But even in the Arab context, and sadly even in Muslim context, I find that still today, the month of Safar, even though there's a hadith saying there's no evil in the month of Safar, you still find people saying we can't get married in Safar. The month after Muharram, it's a bad luck month. And some of the old people are nodding that they must have heard this from the old people. And alhamdulillah for the older generation who might not have known any better, but we have clear evidences today. There is clear-cut hadith that says, do not take Safar as a month that is bad luck. Take it. Do your businesses in Safar. Get married in Safar. I have a friend personally, when he wanted to get married, they brought some spiritual person. It's Muslim people, right? He's a Sheikh, Maulana, and he looked at the taqweem, the stars. It's not the right time to get married. A'udhu billah. Where do we get this? A'udhu billah. We have come far from this. Certain numbers, we said people take it as being either evil or bad luck, or certain numbers have special power. If you put that 786 number on your license plate, it will bring you barakah. If your phone number is 786, you won't get any missed calls, whatever it might be. There's no barakah and power in numbers. And in reality, there is some, and I said, with all these superstitious beliefs, there is a reality, a bit of truth to it. And the truth with numbers, there's a science called, not a science, there's an art called numerology. The art of numbers. And and this is not our topic of today, but when we talk about jinn and magic, a lot of that communication between jinn and people is through numbers. Through some combination of numbers. And therefore people have believed certain numbers have power. We don't believe in numbers having power. We don't believe letters has power. Only kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has power. Animals are always believed to be superstitious. And the cat, for example, all the way back to the Fir'aun's time, the ancient Egyptians, they believed cats were the guardians of the land of the dead. So cats had special magical powers. And the Arabs, they believed birds. Birds had special powers. If you saw a certain bird, it was a sign of good luck. And if you saw a different bird, it was bad luck. They would wrap themselves up, they would go home, lock their door, and they would wait a few hours, because this was a bird that brought with it death. Allah, of course, these things these are animals, they just go and they come. That's our belief. Stars and horoscopes. And wayadu billah, my brothers, my sisters, never, ever, ever even look at the horoscope. Don't open the newspaper. Don't go on Facebook and check what is my horoscope just for fun. La, this is your deen. This is not like anything else you're playing with. The Prophet ﷺ, whoever goes to a kahin, whoever goes to a soothsayer, a fortune teller, he has this, and he believes that person, then he disbelieves in Muhammad ﷺ and his message. And if he goes without believing in it, then his salah, the rewards of it is for 40 days, you lose the reward. You still have to perform salah, but 40 days your salah is contaminated, just by visiting that person. Right? So don't even click on that horoscope. Don't even look at it. In the past, people, of course, didn't understand how the stars worked. And they would see different planets and stars appear, eclipses, and they believed that there must be some magical powers in it. Alhamdulillah, we are beyond this. And to show you the beauty of our deen, wallahi, our deen is based on sound, logical, knowledge. The day the Prophet ﷺ's son Ibrahim passed away, what happened? There was an eclipse. Right? There was an eclipse. So the Prophet's son dies, sallallahu alaihi wasallam dies, and at the same time, the sun is eclipsing. Now, logically, we would say, these two are connected. Right? The Sahaba thought this must be connected, that the sun is so sad, that the Prophet's son died. It's such a traumatic experience that even the sun goes dark. And what did Nabi Sallallahu says? Don't link these two events. The movements of the planets are independent of what happens on Earth. And we know that to be true today. That nothing we do on Earth will change how the planets move and rotate. Yes? They're on their own system, irrespective if we are here or not. It shows you the beauty and soundness of our deen. names being unlucky. I know of people, wallahi, people I know personally, they'll say, my name is so-and-so, but originally my name was Ahmad or Hassan, but the Sheikh said this name is not good luck for me. So they changed my name. I've heard this. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you know. If you look confused, alhamdulillah, you haven't been exposed to it. Right? So certain names, people take to be unlucky. Or they will say, this name is, you are meant to be a certain name. Yes, there are certain rules. You cannot have evil names. You can't call your son Fir'aun. Right? You can't do that. Or anything, or Abdul Rasul, is shirk in that, only Abdullah. So these kind of names are not permissible. But whether you choose a good name, there's no power in it. Yes, there's some good that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says. So he says with names, give your kids good names. Why? Because it hopefully inspires them to emulate that name. So you give the name, for example, Umar, right? So then he thinks, Sayyidina Umar, let me try to be like him. Or his name is Salih, which means good. So he tries to emulate that. So there is no power in the name, but rather it is encouragement to do good. Some of our older people, and they had this thing at night time in the dark, you shouldn't cut your nails or cut your hair. Old people, have you heard that before? Right? The old people nod their head, yes. Maybe in the previous time there was no light, so they said it's dangerous to cut, you're going to cut yourself. Maybe that's what they meant. Right? Maybe that's the reason. But these things have become superstition. That if I cut my nails or my hair when it's after Maghrib, there's some bad luck that will fall. No, subhanAllah, cut your hair, cut your nails. So long as you're not in ihram, you can cut your hair and your nails, and you should do this regularly. That people, and I heard this, I'm collecting these stories, I've never experienced this personally, that people would put a glass out in the middle of the night. They would leave a glass of water, and they would say that this is just in case some of the dead arwah are around, so they could drink. No. The arwah don't move around. If they are good, they are drinking better than the water that you can provide them. And if they are sinful, then they will not get a drop of water that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mean for them. When people pass away, we find that the mirrors are closed. Firstly, a mirror is part of the sunnah, no problem. The Prophet ﷺ would look at himself in the mirror, and there was no fear in that. So why do we close the mirror? Why do people do that? It's a superstition. They believe when someone dies in particular, right? When you come to the house, there was a janazah, you find many of the mirrors closed. Why? Because there was a belief in the European world that a mirror captured your soul. They couldn't understand, how do you see yourself in this mirror, the reflection. Obviously, they didn't understand light. So they thought it was your soul that appeared in the mirror. So therefore, when you die and your soul leaves, if there's any mirrors around, it will capture the soul. So therefore, people believe you close the mirror when a person dies. Of course, this is again superstition. And therefore, breaking a mirror is so dangerous, because it can capture the soul. If you break it, 7 years of bad luck. Nothing like that. And then lucky charms, horseshoes and rabbits' foot. There's no such thing as lucky charms and 3-leaf clovers. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a tree called Dhatul Anwat. A tree which was a massive, huge tree. And the Arabs would go, of Jahiliyyah, they would hang their swords and their weapons on it to get the barakah of the tree. So before battle, they would visit this tree and they would hang their weapons. And when Makkah was conquered, many people embraced Islam, but they were new. They didn't understand much about Islam. So they asked the Prophet ﷺ, can we also have a tree like Dhatul Anwat so we can put our weapons on it? The Prophet ﷺ got so upset. What did he say to them? He said, you've asked me something like the Bani Israel asked Musa. What did the Bani Israel ask Musa? Give us an idol like the people of idols so we can worship an idol. The Sahaba said, we didn't ask for an idol, we worship Allah. He's saying, no, the concept that you believe a tree or an object has barakah in it and I can extract from it is a type of shirk. You are worshipping something other than Allah. There is this incorrect belief that menstruating women keep away the angels. It's wrong. And as one sheikh said, if that were true, I would surround myself by menstruating women, so Malik al-Maut can never come near me. Right? Right. And subhanAllah, sometimes we deprive the poor sister, you can't visit, your husband has just passed away, or he's sick, they said, no, you're menstruating, you can't come near him. La. Her menstruation has nothing to do with being bad luck. In fact, she could still be in more righteousness than us. We said that the Prophet ﷺ, he would recite Quran with his head in the lap of his wives while they were menstruating. It's hadith, Bukhari. That there was he wasn't even like you would say, in other cultures, we mentioned this when we discuss women, that in the Bible, it says that if a woman is in her menstruation, she's so najis, she's so napak, that If she can't even stay in the house becomes dirty. For a whole day, the house and everything she sits in becomes najis. La, we don't believe this. This has nothing to do with our religion. Salt has always been taken as a blessed thing. That if you spill the salt, you have bad luck. And you must throw it over your shoulder. Where does this come from? Salt was believed to have miraculous powers. Why? If you put some salt on the fish or some salt on the meat, it becomes biltong and it lasts the whole month. It doesn't go off. So it's like the salt has powers to heal. This we know, it's got nothing to do with that. It extracts the water from the meat. And therefore people believed salt was a powerful thing. They would pour salt on their door, before their door. And some brothers are nodding. I don't know if they did it as a kid. They had to put some salt on the doorway before they come in. La, this is completely against. And then of course, wearing ta'weez and amulets. And subhanAllah, some of us sitting here might even have something around our neck now. Right now, wearing it for protection. And some will say, there's dua in there. Now, there's Quranic ayat in there. So brother, if you have on your phone 10,000 copies of the Quran, why doesn't that protect you? In your house, you have little papers that you say, I put it up there to protect me from burglary and all that. You have a whole cabinet of Qurans in your house. Why doesn't those Qurans protect you? The Quran protects you, yes, but when you recite it. You can put the entire mushaf in your car. Your 10,000 Qurans can be in your car. It will not protect you unless you are reciting the Quran. The words of the Quran protect you when you recite it. So we don't wear amulets, even if they have Islamic things inside there. And I must warn you, brothers and sisters, I have seen, wallahi, with my own eyes, something which a friend of mine had in his house for protection. Wallahi, when I looked at what it was, it said, Ya Fir'aun, Ya Shaitan, Ya Iblis, Ya Haman. Not one word of Allah on there. So, Allahu A'lam, where these things come from, and who wrote those things, and what is in there. Those things, usually, the people that use writings and drawings are the magicians when they make spells. And Allah speaks about it, مِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. Protect us, Ya Allah, from those who blow into knots. These kind of drawings are usually the work of sihr. So be very careful with these kind of stuff. The Prophet ﷺ says, when the Sahaba asked that, a couple of men, 9 men came to give their pledge of allegiance. 9 men came to embrace Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ accepted from all of them except one. So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, you accepted the allegiance of 9, but not of this one. Why? And what was he doing wrong? So the Nabi ﷺ said, look, he's wearing a tawi, he's wearing an amulet, he's wearing an azimat. So the man took it off, and the Prophet ﷺ then accepted his allegiance, and he says, whoever wears an amulet has committed an act of shirk. So take it off. Don't wear these things. And it's narrated by Imran ibn Hassan that the Prophet ﷺ once saw a man with a brass ring on his hand, and asked, the man had a brass kind of ring. What is this? Nabi ﷺ asked him. And the man says, to overcome the weakness of old age, this thing keeps me strong. So the Prophet says, remove it, take it away. For it can only add to your weakness, and should death overtake you while you're wearing it, you will never be successful, meaning you go to Jahannam forever. So anything that you believe has spiritual and magical powers, remove these things. So we said the dangers of superstition. And shaitan will always move society towards superstition. Fear is one of the tools of shaitan. And when you deal with sihr, and again, I don't want to get into sihr and magic and these things, part of shaitan's arsenal is to make you paranoid and fearful. That person is looking at me with the evil eye. And what do you think this means? And I had a nightmare, and I just saw, it's coincidence, there was a lady who got into an accident, she has the same birthday as me. What do you think it means? There must be a meaning. Shaitan puts these thoughts in your head. Why? Because it takes away your dependency on Allah. It takes away the feeling of contentment and at peace with Allah. That when whatever happens to me, Ya Allah, I face the world, I know I'm in your hands of protection, so alhamdulillah, I have nothing to fear. Whatever good comes to me is from you, whatever bad comes to me is from your power and your decree, and only you can take it away. It also, as it takes the dependency away, and it diminishes you as a person. There are people who have given up amazing opportunities in business, amazing opportunities in getting married. Why? Because of some stupid, superstitious belief. Some silly thing. The dates aren't wrong. Her name and your name don't match. The that she's wearing the wrong color. A'udhu billah. Where do these things? If it was something logical, the biryani was burnt, alhamdulillah, we understand. But something like that, there's no reason to stop yourself. And even in the time of Sahaba, people would not embark on a journey because of the time of the year or the birds that were flying. They deprive themselves of good. Now shaitan, he wants to deprive you of good of the dunya and the akhirah. And he wants you to feel fear and uneasy. That's why he gives you nightmares. What benefit is it to shaitan for us to have nightmares? Only to cause us misery. And that's how weak his powers are. All he can do is really scare you like a little child. But the more you give into those fears, the more power you put into him. And we said that of course there are such things as supernatural dangers. There is such a thing as magic as confirmed in the Quran. And there is such a thing as the evil eye. And the most powerful remedies for these things are what is mentioned in the Quran of protection. So how do we protect ourselves from evil eye and magic? How do I protect myself? So magic is through jinn. How do I protect myself from jinn attacking me? And I'll just say this with regards to jinn. We have a course inshallah on the 9th of December on jinn, angels and qadar, free will and destiny. These three concepts, the people get confused. They are abstract. So inshallah more about that as we get closer to the date. But just something on magic. Without a doubt there's jinn. Without a doubt they have power. And without a doubt they can harm you. But see them, look at them, understand them like a virus. You are surrounded by deadly viruses all the time. The air we breathe has so many deadly viruses in there. So why don't we get sick? Why don't we lock ourselves up in a little bubble? Because we believe, yes, I can get infected, I can die, but I have an immune system. And so long as I take care of my immune system, these things cannot penetrate me. Allah has put a barrier between us and the jinn, and so long as that barrier is healthy, inshaAllah, nothing will harm you except by the decree of Allah. So don't worry about all the diseases out there. You don't have to have a PhD with all the diseases to protect yourself from it. You just have to follow the recommendations of what to do. Similarly with the deen. Evil eye is a reality. And in fact there's a hadith that says, if you knew the extent of people that are killed with the evil eye, so many people die through it. And that's when one person envies someone else to such a degree that it actually harms that person. He might even go out to the extent where he makes dua against you. Why did you get the job and not me? Oh Allah, take it away from him. And Allah accepts that dua at that person's detriment as well. So how do you protect yourself from this? Again, doesn't mean you must for your whole life drive the worst of cars and wear the worst of clothing and hide all your jewels and your wealth away so don't enjoy them. No, that's not part of the sunnah. Rather, it is to put your faith in the remedies of protection. And how do you protect yourself? Number one, a strong concept of tawheed. A strong connection with Allah. Subhanallah, if you are walking in the road and you've got guns on you and you've got your bulletproof vest and you've got all the protection that you could need, you don't fear anything. No one can harm me. Now the believer, when his connection with Allah is strong, that's how he feels. When I step out that door, I'm in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That I've got Allah on my side. That whatever step I take is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more distant we are, the weaker we are and the weaker we will feel. And of course, the most important connection with Allah is through our salah. And many a time, quite regularly, at least monthly, I have people that come to the masjid and they ask me, because we all have problems in our life. We all have businesses that are not working, financial money that we can't make ends meet, the relationships that break down. And naturally, the first thing people want to think about, there must be some evil in my life. Someone must have done something on me, Sheikh. Many times they sit there and they said, I feel like there's something evil in my life. So we said, fine, let's assist and discuss. There are clear symptoms of if there's sihr or anything like that. And many times you find, I asked the brother or sister, how is your salah or how's your connection with Allah? He said, no, it's not that good. I'm not making salah as regular as I should. Or I make a tahajjud, a taraweeh. When I come home, I make dhuhr, asr, maghrib and isha. That's not right. That's not right. How are you going to get Allah's protection if you're not connected to Him? If you're not connected to Him. So the most important thing is your salah. And that's the first step in your immune system. That's the first building block in keeping your immune system intact. But Allah has gone over and above that and given you remedies. So if, for example, and just quickly, some symptoms, if you have reoccurring nightmares, all the time, something very vivid and detailed, and it bothers you, or you have a very, your mood has changed tremendously. Your wife or your kids tell you you're not the same person you used to be. If you find it extremely difficult to make ibadah, now all of us, our iman is that it's difficult. Right? All of us, I know you're struggling to stay awake right now. But if you come to the masjid and you're like completely knocked out, you will fall asleep snoring. You can't understand why. And you have a brother, told me about it. Or he says, and this even happened to the Prophet ﷺ, pornographic images flash in your mind when you're making ibadah. This happened to the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, this is through magic. Then there might be some things that are bothering you. But again, don't bring some sheikh in your house to sprinkle some magical dust on you or to perform some rituals. Don't do that. That opens the doorway to shirk and even worse. That will make your problems 10 times worse. Do these things. Make your salah on time. Recite the 3 quls after every salah before you sleep 3 times. The Prophet says, a house in which Surah Baqarah is played, shaitan cannot enter it. And again, wallahi, I say to you once again, a couple came to me a month ago or so, having symptoms which sounded a lot like jinn. And I said, I'm not going to give you anything fancy. There's no fancy remedies I have for you. Just play Surah Baqarah 3 times from the beginning to the end. If you can recite it, good. If you can't, play it on the cassette or something, and or the iPad or the iPhone, whatever, for 3 days, even when you're out working. And wallahi, they respond to say, he feels at ease, things are a lot better, that paranoia is gone, he's able to focus better on his ibadah. Just do these things. Just play Surah Baqarah in the house. Ayatul Kursi after every salah and before you go to bed, recite Ayatul Kursi. And one of the beautiful things about Ayatul Kursi, Nabi SAW says, the person who recites Ayatul Kursi after every salah, nothing prevents him from entering Jannah except death. Meaning his place is there already. He's just waiting to die by reciting Ayatul Kursi. But also in addition to that, the hadith, famous hadith in Bukhari of Abu Huraira, a jinn came in human form, a devil came in human form and met Abu Huraira. And Abu Huraira caught him, and this man said, I'll tell you something, if you let me go, I'll give you some knowledge. That if you recite Ayatul Kursi before you go to bed, it will protect you from jinn and evil and evil harm. So Abu Huraira let him go. And when the Prophet ﷺ found out about this incident, he said, Abu Huraira, the man that you caught told you the truth, even though he's a kadhub, even though he is a persistent liar. He always lies, but in this case he told you the truth. Recite Ayatul Kursi before you go to bed. And there are special du'as, A'udhu bi kalimatillahi tamma min sharri ma khalaq. Oh Allah, I seek protection through your perfect words from all the evil which you have created, from all the harm which Allah has created. Allah created Iblis, He created jinn, He created viruses and AIDS and bacteria, all these things, Allah created it, and therefore only through Allah can you be protected. And this also shows you, this hadith, and pay attention here, this dua shows you, you can get protection through the Quran, not by writing it and weighing it, but by reciting it, and by making dua through it. So I conclude by saying that we are an ummah of optimism. We face the world with challenges that it is optimistically. We don't fear anything besides Allah, and we hope for the best for our future. And the Prophet ﷺ says that whoever puts his faith, whoever says, Oh Allah, there is no God except Allah, no good except your good, there's no birds that can harm you except you, and there's no God besides you, he puts his faith in Allah, in everything that he does. And the last, and I conclude with this hadith, we said on the day of Qiyamah, there will be people that will be in 2 queues. The people of shirk, and they'll go to Jahannam forever. And the people of Tawheed, they'll go to Jannah, but there are categories. Some of them will wait, and they'll go to Jahannam first. Some of them will wait on Qiyamah for a long time, and then they'll go to Jannah. Some will go to Jannah, they'll be questioned and forgiven. But we said there are some that will go to Jannah without even being questioned. Meaning they come on Qiyamah, and this is the most VIP queue of all. After the Anbiya, the next best queue that you want to be in, may Allah grant us to be in that queue. The angels will say, Ahmad, this queue is for you, your name is on the list, you won't even be questioned by Allah, rather you go straight to Jannah. Khalas, what must you do to get that reward? One of it is you need to be in the front line of jihad. Be the front battalion of jihad. That's a bit difficult. But this one is easier. The Prophet says, 70,000 of my ummah will enter Jannah without being brought to account. They won't even be questioned. They are the ones who do not ask for ruqyah. They don't ask people to recite over them for barakah and blessing. They do it themselves. Or believe in any kind of omens. There's no superstitious belief in their heart. And they don't use ta'weez and quarter burning and things like that to protect them. But rather they put their trust completely in Allah. They feel confident in Allah. Now if your iman is on that level, may Allah grant us to be of that. You will be of that 70,000 who will enter Jannah without any questioning. Alhamdulillah, may Allah grant us that. Ameen. Wa sallallahu Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam mursaleen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Just a reminder, our classes on a Tuesday evening, the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after Maghrib Salah on Tuesday evenings. And if you'd like a copy of this lecture, it will be on our website in a few days' time, burhanul.co.za, burhanul.org.za, afwan. And you can email me at westmuhammad@gmail.com. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.